very curious, so I found out three things were very, very critical. The first one was people power. People power was extremely important. And I was reading something about that and something came to my mind. You can imitate anything. You can imitate technology, you can imitate processes, you can imitate strategy, you can imitate everything. But it's difficult to create people power. So those who have done extremely well, they always use the cylinder of people power. Innovation comes from people power. So innovation and people power both are extremely linked together. And the last one, of course, has been ethical governance. Mr. Pujari, that once I was doing some kind of work for the NTPC and BHEL, and I get the concept that why not we should have energy university, National Energy University. All you must have read in the newspaper today that global players are coming to pursue their R&D in India. How come Indian companies are not pursuing that? It's a big question, so I was talking to Pujari ji that I will come and if you want any blueprint about the make of our future generation will thrive, grow, excel and flourish in that. So I was talking about that one. How to build people power. Great organizations, the pipeline, and also how to have industrial harmony in the country, you know that. These are some of the issues. However, I would like to say, have we built leaders in this country? You know that. I think that KK and I think Dhananjay, you need many more seminars. Amount of power, but once the chariot moves, no one can stop it. I think that sir, there is a movement for people development. There is Kalidasa wrote many poetries, but one poem I like Kalidasa very much. He said, God, you can give me any amount of punishment, any amount of miseries, I won't mind.
Thank you, sir, for those Electricity Act 2003 and subsequent National Electricity Policy 2005, Electricity Tariff Policy 2006, and many more. A mechanical engineer with postgraduate.
Share my thoughts with a similar program. But things are so dynamic that I think within a period of 1 year, if we compare the nature of challenges, the complexities, cuts across sectors. Let me add, HR cuts across all the sectors, it cuts across all the functions. If it is an NPA problem, it is also in a way HR problem. Do we have competent managers in finance and banking sector to handle NPA? If it is technical problem, it is somewhere HR needs to be appreciated, also needs to be blamed if it falls short. So I think HR cuts across sectors, HR cuts across all the faculties and functions. And since things are so dynamic, the challenges become even more demanding. If you see last 12 to 18 months, changes at policy level, which may be administrative level, it could be changes of technology, like we are changing in a big way in India from age-old conventional power. In 80s, we were talking of globalization. That means whole business, whole industrial activities globalized in a big way. Because whether we like it or we don't, Dr. Pritam Singh did bring out that over the last 30, 40, 50 years, global power has shifted and that they have to give protection to the local industry. You can see the impact that globally it has. Just there will be many countries which would just be echoing this. Don't check. We don't question. So you have people in whom you have trust, and sometimes you blindly, not literally blindly, but to a great extent, you give that consideration that he has waited where we are on Make in India. But the point is, the thrust is, we are talking in defense. It might become 70% by 2022, it might become by 2025, but that is shift from a smaller percentage to 70% indigenization. So you are thinking in terms of, and suddenly you have the immigration policy of the US which affects all of us. One of the large industry in the country, sociologists and human behavior persons like Asha Bhandarkar, together with Dr. Pritam Singh and other eminent scholars, would need to not read, and then therefore that becoming a great challenge for anyone to address and handle is becoming a trend. In some places governments have changed, new government in power, you have a shift. Dr. Pritam Singh mentioned, I entirely indulge. The bar has changed. What we thought is the transparent method of working, let's say 1 year of campaign and finally the electoral college and finally the election. So therefore, changes when they happen, complexities when they get created, and challenges to face with and to be confronted and to manage and to address, all can see. That cannot be excused, obviously. If your change is predictable, why is it that you don't take advance action to respond to those changes which create complexities in managing, whether at the government level, administration level, or at corporate level, or at a company or a plant level. But enhance you predict. Can there be some literature research, literature survey, or if Prime Minister of India has to be Mr. Modi, did the industry? So those are the challenges that are happening in a big way. Coming to power sector, I think, and energy sector, Mr. Balajan would in some session definitely deal with that in a big way. First, on the petroleum sector. In one of my books I wrote, management of petroleum sector in India, could we have done better? I was very critical. I continue to be. If after 40, 50 years of efforts, this effort, that effort, this tender, this exploration, that participation of public, private sector, PPP, etc., if more than 75% we continue to depend on import, that tells a lot. Why should we continue to depend on import in such a big way? Instead of taking the credit. Mr. K.K. Sinha is smiling, but question is, if it is, are we preparing? Today, NTPC is in that situation. Dr. Pritam Singh made a point. Normally, I do not disagree or differ with him. Now, we can debate for hours, why should it not be or why should it be, but it's not a favorable view. Because globally, that is being decried. Locally, it is being decried even more. Therefore, you have a situation of larger dependence on, etc., depend on great people, and then prepare the organization. Is NTPC fully prepared for this? One has to revisit and re-evaluate. So I think reading, listening for years to come. Dr. Pritam Singh mentioned about research. Somehow private sector industry and public sector industry. People R&D have done, we'll put R&D budget in our annual report. Okay, so much percentage, salary this, salary that, etc., etc. But something that will contribute to the industry, either in petroleum sector, 10,000 crore, 15,000 crore. So I think these are some of the things where mindset change. Who is responsible to change the mindset? Am I putting a lot of demand on HR that HR is also, everybody is responsible, but as the more successful it will be. And that will be a great compliment to the HR function. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
6 and 7 also are not in a position to read and write and identify numbers and alphabets. That means we are creating a generation who will be left out of the mainstream of the higher education issues that is being resolved. Will take care of it. But there's an issue to be debated some other day. Recently, Honorable Prime Minister started a series of talk where they invited the this theme today would have been much more would have been more appropriate. As was mentioned earlier, the energy sector is undergoing a rapid transformation, and within the energy sector, I think it is the power sector which viable energy strategy is critical for sustaining its growth. And obviously, the objective is to make a quality power available at affordable price to all. The HR policy needs to be 2 years. The Indian power sector has seen huge progress in the last few years, especially in the last 2.5 years. We have added 52,000 capacity, 53,000 megawatt of capacity in last 2 years. Come into the sector, investment and capacity that has been created in the sector is unprecedented. Now it has its own impact. We talked about the lack of demand, we talked about low PLF. Now this all got related to this. I'm not talking about the renewable that is coming in, that's still an external factor that is coming in. So we have to address, and the HR policies have to address all these concerns that is coming up, all the discussions that are taking place. So as Mr. Sahi was saying, certain renewable power generation will be through not only large scale solar energy and wind energy, but also through decentralized generation, including rooftop. Now it has its own implications. Accurate forecasting will assume significant. Forest has notified the revised norms. There will be high investment and changes required in the fossil fuel based power plants. For example, installation of FGD will require lime as input and disposal of gypsum. These are again the things that is coming up. I mean, we already know that is going to happen. Now we have to work on that. Now, how do we handle these issues, which indicates price in the power exchange every 15 minutes on real-time basis. If I large to ensure that there is no congestion and then a particular region is not deprived of availability of the power, or they have to pay high cost because of there is a lack of corridor capacity to transfer power. So in that context, now how do you want to run the grid? How do you want to stabilize the grid? How do you do a path where they ensure saying that by so and so date we are going to ensure that 24/7 power supply is available to all the consumers. As Honorable Prime Minister had announced that about 18,500 odd villages are there in the country which didn't have access to electricity. Now, out of those 18,000, we have already covered about more than 12,500, about 5,000 odd villages are there to be covered. I'm just talking about the access. So in 6.5%, 7%. As was pointed out, the large part of areas where the power is not supplied because of various reasons, maybe because technical reason, maybe because of DISCOM don't have the capacity to buy power and supply, and they have their own financial issues. 10,000 megawatt. So we have these again are the disruptions. Probably in 2015 when the launch LED bulb program was launched, and do the correct HR strategy to address the issues. The Government of India has launched two major issues that get suppressed when you talk about the macro numbers, comes out individually. For example, if you get a good competitive bid tariff of power, you can hit this goal, say for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then take power instead. And so this tolling guideline has been issued. These are the, again, changes, large disruptive for a power sector, traditional, which runs on the traditional way we have run it for so many years. These are the changes that is coming out. The system, the sector has to cope with this. And that as a concurrent, Bhutan now we have exported power, started exporting power to Myanmar. So the inter-regional in the SAARC countries are also getting integrated. And I'm sure that in days to come, all the neighboring countries around India, this cooperation in the power sector will become much more stronger. Now that will again create challenges. We will be acquiring and managing talent, addressing manpower requirement for new and evolving areas, and providing adequate training and knowledge.
Shri Pujari ji, BIMTech and HRDL is committed to this cause. Last year we started with the Power Summit. Soon we realized that power is too small to change the landscape, and we decided we will organize Energy Summit. And many of us believe that it is the root, it is the base which ensures what kind of building we are going to build. So thank you indeed. Shri Pujari ji is here with us. And whether it is this program or any government initiative which the Government of India has taken in the recent past, you have been the strongest. Our mentor, Dr. Pritam Singh ji. So words will fail us to acknowledge leadership. We look forward and we will take this forward and we will make this a movement. And this movement, you all are not only the delegate from the front. It is said, दो और दो का जोड़ हमेशा चार कहाँ होता है, सोच समझ वालों को थोड़ी नादानी है. So the power of collaboration, which is BIMTech, NHRDL, Power Forum, Deloitte, Professor Sinha, humble soul, he is not here, I suppose in the hall, he is sitting there, and the team, Professor Manusi and others, are grateful thanks to each one of you. So thank you indeed. Friends, last but not least, the participants who are here, we are already in the month of March, you all must be having at least 100 of agenda in your diary. But still you are here, which means, thank you once again, thank you each one of you. Over to Professor Mansi.
Thank you, sir. Amar Singh, sir, Dr. Baya, Mr. Chaturvedi, Mr. S.K. Chaturvedi, please join us on stage for a group. And what is the impact of volatility and uncertainty in the global crude prices on the Indian companies? To discuss these issues at length, I take the opportunity to once again invite on stage our chairperson and moderator for the session, Mr. R.V. Shahi. Alphabetical order. And in the interest of time, I will not read out their full profiles as they are already available with you in the summit souvenir. I request Reliance ADAG to please take his seat on the dais. Dr. Baya has about 40 years of experience in oil and gas business in upstream, LNG and downstream petrochemicals and renewable energy sectors. He is a top. I next invite Mr. Atul Sopti, CMD BHEL on the panel. Mr. Sopti has a rich repertoire of diverse and versatile professional experience of more than 3 decades, working in various capacities in all major segments of BHEL. A mechanical graduate engineer with post-graduation in international experience in power sector, leadership positions, including hands-on experience in power system planning, engineering, design, project MD, Power Finance Corporation to join the panel here. Mr. Sharma has more than 31 years of varied power sector experience, including policy making, initiating and implementing reform.
Dr. Chaturvedi, I shared my views, and above all, I think we had a very comprehensive coverage by the Power Secretary, of course. They were mostly on most of them were on power. But some total power and other aspects of which that is happening is very pace and the size of changes and the coverage of changes and the intensity of impact that the changes have in our working. Those things got covered. This session we are trying to cover power on a few issues. There are many issues, but we will cover a few of them. And I had the privilege of writing to each of the panelists that out of many issues that are relevant to the energy sector, maybe half a dozen of these issues we will try to encompass during 1 hour, 15-20 minutes that we have. And so in the first round, what I have proposed that in 2 to 3 minutes, each of our very eminent panelists in the CEO group, they will tell us, each one of them will tell us an overview on HR.
Also need to face it and gear it up. There are a lot of issues, in fact, connected to the cleaner energy. I think during the course of discussion we'll talk about it. That how to change the mindset of the people, how to train the people in the new kind of energy mix. Second point I like to mention about the power, there was mentioned that we are in the power surplus zone in the research finding I was seeing. Here I have a slight difference of opinion, which also I think we'll discuss during the course of discussions. I mean, it's surprising that about 4 years back, we were saying that we are having almost 6 to 7% of the energy shortage. We are having around 14 to 15% of peak shortages. I am very happy that in the last 5 years of the current 5-year plan, we have been able to achieve, which was not achieved for almost 4 to 5 decades. 1 lakh megawatt has been commissioned in the, almost it's going to be commissioned in this current plan, taking it to 3 lakh plus.
Move to Mr. Balan, because we will have this thermal power generators and what.
Special mention and focus on gas, which has a linkage to power generation. In the energy mix, if you see, gas contributes to just about 7 to 8% now in the primary mix of the energy. If you see, sometime it had gone to double figures, but it has come back to about 7 to 8%. When we compare it with the world average, it's about 24%, and the trend has been for major developed countries as also developing countries is that the contribution of the gas is increasing and the contribution of coal is decreasing, renewables is increasing. We don't see much change happening, although the recent years we see the renewables coming up, but the gas contribution is one thing that we need to really examine why it is actually come down. When we see that gas and power industry actually function in tandem in most of the developed countries and developing countries, we see that this is a problem in our country. Need to examine why it is not taking off. I compare that we have a project in neighboring country, power generation on gas-based, we are trying to implement one. If it can happen in our neighbor's country, why it is not happening in our country? We see on the other hand, Pakistan in a short time of about 2.5 years has established and developed capabilities of gas-based power generation, using innovative ways and cutting short the administrative process in short time, and they are all set to really go in a big way on gas-based power generation. Why it is not happening there? I think these are the business issues that we need to see. Second point is that from the HR perspective, I think that traditionally the academia, industry, there has been a disconnect, and this disconnect is continuing. In some of the areas we do see some kind of a common ground emerging, but I find that the academia moves on its own and the industry's requirement, needs, aspirations, emerging areas are not really being taken into account by the academia to develop those new emerging areas in terms of developing more people and creating more courses that are of direct impact to the industry. It is left to the industry to really take the freshers and spend year to 2 years time to really develop them and transform them to contributing professionals. I think this is one area where I strongly recommend that the academia need to develop expertise in new courses which are focusing on the new emerging area of the industry. The third is that transforming a good professional into a businessman actually. We expect that all our youngsters, all young people should actually start speaking the business language. We talk about business language. How do you make a good professional in an organization talk in business sense? He can be a brilliant engineer or a professional, but then really talking in a business language, that's important. That's lacking. That's another challenge here. And the third part I'd like to put on the linking into HR. From the company's functioning also, I think today's CEO is focusing more on what's happening right now, and the present is the focus. There is a lack of focus on what all kinds of system procedures that have become redundant, outdated, irrelevant to the business model right now. There's a little focus on that. And I think that if you have to really grow and perform in the changing time, and I've come to change also, there has to be a focus on, at the same time, that what is the performance today is okay, but what has become redundant, system, procedures, way of working, has to be eliminated. So there has to be a selective destruction and removal from the organization all old processes, systems, procedures which have become irrelevant now in the present business environment. And therefore, once you selectively destruct that, then only you can create something new through innovation. So I think this focus on today, that this business model, business as usual, that we are continuing, we have been doing this for a long time, the organizations are taking a lot of time to realize that their business models have become outdated.
I think Mr. Jha, thank you. Couple of minutes, major challenges in the sector and HR perspective.
Sir, we from Power Grid, I am just concentrating on the transmission. What I have seen, the changes what is seen today, in transmission or in power sector, we are seeing the changes since the Electricity Act has come. If you see the last 5 years,